I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities and Music. Guys, today we're going to review the new album from the Antlers called Burst Apart. This is their follow-up to 2009's Hospice, which received massive critical acclaim. Everyone loved that album. I think we liked it too when we reviewed it.
Yeah.
And that was a very emotional album, and this huge story and concept behind the lyrics. It was very gripping, stark, and just almost just depressing. I mean, the story is just, I just felt destroyed after I got through that album. This album is nothing like that, especially in the lyrics. The lyrics are nothing. The lyrics are still good. I don't think they're bad lyrics or anything, but they're definitely not that level of just conceptuality driving them. And that's something that I think that true Hospice fans are going to be upset with. But yet this is still an album. I think Burst Apart, just in the album title, you can tell that you still are going to have to emotionally appeal to this album in some way, shape, or form, because the instruments and the songwriting alone will not get you there. So it comes down to a lot of personal bias and opinion. Can you relate to this, or can you not? I know that even music critics are arguing about that right now, and I like that about the Antlers, because this is a band that's not scared to experiment. They're not scared to do new things and change their sound, which is something I really appreciate. Tom, what were your thoughts on Burst Apart?
Well, you already hit a lot of main points, honestly, in just the difference between this and Hospice, because I think some people who really attach to Hospice will be disappointed by this, and the fact that it doesn't have quite the emotional intensity. Yet, really, what would these guys be accomplishing if they just came out with Hospice Part 2, another emotional downer of an album that you can attach to?
Brilliant!
Yeah, it would have just been like, okay, we heard this already.
Yeah.
So I love the direction that these guys took their sound. There's a lot more variety, a lot more different kinds of production. And
more instruments.
Yeah, maybe that just comes from them, becoming a little more popular, probably getting a bigger budget. I know that Hospice, a lot of that was just Pete Silverman working on his own.
Right.
And so now there's more of a full band manifestation of that, and a bigger production scale. So I love that about it. I mean, track 3, parentheses, you get this crunchy, edgy, distorted guitar. I never would have thought I'd hear that after listening to Hospice.
A lot of comparison to Radiohead, too.
Yeah.
Like, I got a lot of Radiohead influence here, which, if you guys know me, that's a good thing. So.
Yeah. And I mean, this album is by no means trip-hop, but there's even some Portishead-type vibes and grooves, and I love that. I love the variety on here. It's a great direction for these guys to take their sound. Now, at the same time, you had some complaints about the songs. I want you to talk about
Yeah,
first.
I just kind of felt like some of these tracks, they did, to me, this album is the main focus that the Antlers had on this album. It was strictly on providing mood and atmosphere. These songs are super atmospheric, and they provide a great mood that you have to appeal to. And I think that they execute that flawlessly. They have great atmosphere and great mood on every single one of these tracks. There's not a track here that I really don't like, but the problem is, for me, is that a lot of these tracks I felt didn't really go anywhere. They created this mood, this ambiance, this atmosphere, and then it goes on for like 2.5, 3.5 minutes, and then it just ends. The song that literally doesn't build. There's no dynamics or contrast. It just occurs, and then it's over. And that's not every track. There's just several tracks on here. I feel like the first 2 tracks are like that. Parentheses is an exception. Track 6, Every Night My Teeth Are Falling Out. That's my favorite song on the album. It's obviously the most Radiohead-esque track on that. But then they even get into like Corsicana, track 9, even gets into a little bit more, that's more personal, more emotional, like something more like what you'd see off Hospice. But other than that, I feel like these tracks could have been more expansive in their songwriting and in their structure. But they're kept simple. It's almost like they're underdeveloped, like they almost over-focused them, they oversimplified them, and at times that bothers me. I feel like that kind of held it back a little bit. Now,
and I wanted you to say that because that leads into one of my main points about this album, that I think where they focused on moving their sound is in the style and the presentation of it rather than the songwriting itself. And that what you said is the key to understanding that, because yeah, if you look at these tracks, it's true, they're not very expansive. They don't go a lot of different places, especially when compared to Hospice, which, you know, has very long intros and outros and builds, and the whole album flows. This is
Which is why that album was so emotionally appealing.
Exactly. This is a lot more chopped up. They were focusing on the sound and the presentation and the style of each track,
which is cool,
rather than actually saying, let's make this an expansive, big song.
Right.
And that's a big difference.
Nonetheless, I mean, I've really, I keep coming back to this album. I mean, I feel like I had a good understanding like a week ago of what this album was doing and what my thoughts were on it, but yet at the same time, I still keep coming back to it. And that's something that I really like about an album, so it's getting extra points for me because of that. And I have found that this is one that I'll come back to and I'm recommending to friends because it's so diverse, and it's just a really cool concept and idea, and I feel like they executed it quite well. To me, this is a good album. I could see it getting better. They could have done more with it. It's a little overcropped in my opinion. I'm going 76.
I'm going 81.
Great.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's in that upper 70s good album range for VIMTV, but what really matters is what you guys think. So what did you think about Burst Apart? Did it grip you? Did you love the mood, the ambiance? Did that really, did you, over Hospice, I mean, did you find this to be just as emotionally appealing? I would think that most people wouldn't find it as emotionally appealing, but if you do, definitely leave us a comment. I'd love to hear your opinions on it. And do that at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and please check out Ian's blog at vimtv.tumblr.com. Ian loved this album. He thought it was great, and he did a review on it, so you can check that out at Tumblr. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.